Good day, everyone. My name is Anthony Scott, and I serve as Chief for Inclusion and Belonging with Virginia Tech Student Affairs. I want to welcome you to the Foundations Podcast. The Foundations Podcast is presented to you by Virginia Tech Student Affairs, and it's a forum for us to address topics in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. These conversations can be tough to have sometimes. So Foundations is created to engage and interact directly with students, staff members, and community members, and create a space for difficult, transparent discussions, highlighting themes such as self-awareness, cultural knowledge, openness, perspective, collaboration, and more. Without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome. Today I am joined by several members of the Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets. Could you all introduce yourselves, please? And we'll start from over here with Ms. Cortez.
Okay, nice to meet you. I'm Serenity Cortez. I'm a senior in the Corps. I'm a public health major. I'm an Army ROTC. I'm the president of Phoenix, which is the Latinx cadet organization in the Corps.
Okay, thank you. And next.
Hi, I'm Elsie Boateng. I'm a senior in the Corps. I'm a biochem and biology major. I'm president of the Black Cadet Organization, as well as the regimental liaison for all the cadet organization. Yeah.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Grace. I'm a junior. I'm in band company in the Corps, Army ROTC. I'm an English literature and creative writing major, and I'm the president of the VTCC Hero, which is the LGBTQ plus organization here in the Corps.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Scott. My name is Caleb Dankwa. I'm a junior in the Corps of Cadets. I major in international relations. I'm also the vice president for the Black Cadet Organization.
Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we'll be having a conversation about the Corps' purpose, its history, traditions, as well as how it's moving towards a more inclusive and innovative space for students to gain leadership skills. Additionally, I would like to give space for our guests to talk through some of the challenges and highlights that you face as cadets from an underrepresented background. So to begin, what is the origin and history of the Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets?
So I can answer that question.
Okay.
The Corps was founded, or I wouldn't say the Corps, but the university was founded back in 1872 as Virginia Agricultural and Military, or Agricultural Mechanical Institution, or college. And the Corps kind of came with that as a land-grant university. And the Corps started with 132 back in 1872 as the Corps kind of grew it started with just 2 companies, so about 60 people in each company. And the Corps kind of just like grew and expanded throughout the years, because 1872 was about 10 years after the Civil War, I'd say.
Yeah, it was
about
exactly.
eight years after the Civil War, yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. So when you talk about the Corps, what inspired each of you? Because this is hard work. This is not easy for students to do. So what inspired you to join the Corps?
I guess I can answer that question. So I grew up with not a whole lot of military background, but my grandfather on both my parents' side were in the military. One was in the Navy and one was in the Army, and that kind of military service was instilled in me in a young age. And I've always loved to serve other people, and my parents always taught me to kind of like treat people with respect. So coming into the Corps, I knew I wanted to be in the Army, and I knew I wanted to be in the military. So I came here on the Army ROTC scholarship, and from then on, I've kind of just been here to kind of bridge the gap between certain people who feel like they're underrepresented, because growing up, for me, I always felt like it was kind of hard to be true to myself, and kind of like I never wanted anyone else to feel that, and I knew that the military is continuing to evolve and grow with the new rules and regulations with it as well. So it's really important to make sure that everybody has a voice. So that's kind of why we started Hero and why we kind of wanted to grow, and that's what inspires me to be a leader here today.
What about any of you? What inspired you to do this? Because you guys get up at what time every day? Do you have a certain time that you have to get up?
Depending on PT days, it's usually like 5 a.m. and they have to be outside by accountability at 5:15 for Army, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
And then you go to class after that.
Not even that. We go take a shower, we go to formation, and then we go to class after that.
So you go to class all day, depending on what your schedule is. Do you have anything to do in the evenings?
Usually just meetings.
Wow.
So Tuesdays and Thursdays we kind of have like a set block for like cadet classes. So like Tuesday would be like our ROTC classes, and then Thursday would be like Thursday at 3:45 or 3:30 to 4:45 would be our actual like cadet class for like the Corps of Cadets, like interacting with alumni like we did today. So that's kind of just like our daily schedule basically.
Okay. So some people may not understand this, but so there's a difference between the Corps and ROTC. Could one of you explain what that is?
So in the Corps, we have kind of what we talked about today in lab, we have all the different military branches. So you have different companies within the Corps that are filled with different cadets who are a part of ROTC, but also part of the citizen leadership track. So you can join the Corps, you can be a cadet, you can go through the program for all 4 years, but you don't necessarily have that obligation to serve in the military.
Okay.
So you still go to your ROTC or what respective track that you're a part of, but you're also a cadet. So it's kind of like a joint program. So you work with the civilian leadership track to kind of do that, maybe contract in the government. But you're also taking RTC classes depending on who you are. But no like set company has specific roles. It's kind of that way. It exposes you to being in like a joint military environment when you do commission or go into the civilian workforce.
All right, thank you. That helps me a lot. Now, what has been an impactful experience that you have had so far?
Meeting for me, it's meeting other Black African American cadets as well that were there before me who started the BCO, and they gave me like a safe community because obviously they've been through all challenges as well before me, so they were able to give me guidance. And the fact that I was able to build relationships with them, even though they're already commissioned into their jobs, I still keep in contact with them. So just building like relationships with other cadets as well in military.
Okay. So that was a positive thing. Okay. What about the rest of you?
I would say my freshman year. So freshman year is probably like the hardest time that you wouldn't want to do again, apart from like maybe like Ranger School or SEAL School. Because freshman year, it's like they kind of not really break you down, but like they get you out of that individual like aspect that you were like in high school. It's like, oh, all about me. And it's like now that you're here, maybe if you didn't play sports back in high school, it's like your freshman year, you're gonna learn like how to march, drill, like rifle drill, how to be like an ultimate team player, like just how to put in and like show out and like put your best foot forward all the time. And I really like, I wouldn't say it was a learning experience for me, but like watching some of like my classmates go through it, it was really a learning experience for them because they didn't really come from a background where like they worked together well in groups. And as they like went through freshman year, they started to learn like, okay, like I have a purpose here, like I belong here, I have friends here, like we should actually like try to like make ourselves better. So I feel like that was a really big learning experience for me.
I wonder if any of your colleagues who are not in the Corps, if they ever thought about doing something like this and talk to you guys and learn about the positives and choose to join the Corps at that time. But can you join after you've already matriculated or?
Yes, so we actually had a freshman in the Corps who was a junior in the university, and he dropped after the first semester because he was kind of already acclimated into the university, but he had always wanted to try to be in the Corps. So that's just something that you can always come into the Corps and kind of get that experience if you wanted to try it. And he said it was a good experience to be a part of, but he was already kind of acclimated into that.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right, so what were your expectations going into the Corps, and were your expectations met? What did you expect?
I actually had no expectations going into the Corps. I had no idea what I was signing myself up for. So my personal background, I have a lot of enlisted family. So my brother enlisted in the Air Force. My grandfathers, they were both Marines. All my uncles, they're all Marines. They were all like, oh, okay, our granddaughter, she's going to Virginia Tech. She's going to do ROTC. She's going to be the first officer in our family. Amazing things. Came in, got yelled at. I was scared out of my mind. I got through it. I called my family. They kind of got me through a lot of things. They motivated me. I had to motivate myself. I had to learn a lot of things about myself. Had to learn how to time manage.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I came in with more expectations and knew what I was getting myself into, then I could have been more ready. But I wasn't.
It's better this way.
Yeah.
How about the rest of you? Did you have any expectations? Did you have any thoughts of what it would be like?
I just thought it was gonna be like a regular ROTC school, like Army
2 days
class,
a week.
right?
Yeah, because at regular ROTCs, they wear their uniforms twice a week, maybe.
Right.
Oh, that's at the high school level?
Or at college.
College.
So
Oh.
schools that aren't, so we are considered a senior military college, just like Texas
Okay.
A&M and
Okay.
Norwich and Virginia Military Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's we actually dedicate 5 days a week, 7 days a week to the Corps or
Right.
just ROTC. Whereas other ROTCs, it's a little unit where they may go to PT twice a week, have their military class twice a week, but we have the classes 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week. We wear our uniform every single day.
Now, was that something that you knew? You knew that there was a difference between Virginia Tech as opposed to another institution that doesn't quite have those standards? Did you know that that was the case, and you still chose to come here?
I knew that because I did what Virginia Tech has for their recruiting program is the Spend the Night program. And so I came for a day and I stayed with a cadet in a line company, and I kind of got that freshman year experience where I got to go to class with them. I got to go to a big core lab lecture with them, and I got to kind of see the campus and see what the Corps was all about. And I ended up really liking the university and really liking the Corps when I first came here to visit. But before I had decided to join and kind of look into that program, I wasn't as interested. So that's one of the things that you can do to kind of really expose yourself to know what you're signing up for.
Exactly. And I know that when the Corps began, they didn't have people who look like you or who represent like you or look like you or who look like you. So there were no women, there were no people of color, there were no people who identified as LGBTQ. There was none of that. So it was an institution of white men mostly. So what are some ways that the Corps has evolved over the years to become more inclusive?
I think just having organizations like us
Just letting
in the
us
Corps,
represent ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
giving cadets a outlet to kind of share their hardships together and really work on cultivating a better environment and really educating and empowering other people, because a lot of the times when we face hardships, it's because people don't necessarily know that what they're saying or what they're doing is hurtful to other people. So being able to kind of educate people and teach them how to really respond in these certain situations, it's really hard. It takes a lot of courage to stand up to your peers and even your leaders to kind of tell them hey, that's not okay. Or just being able to have an outlet for cadets, especially freshmen, hey, we're here for you, we're here to kind of support you, we've been through it too. So I think that's kind of, the Corps is constantly changing with the times, and I think it's good to have organizations like us to really be there for people.
So you guys have the ability to be your authentic selves. Yes. Okay. What visions do you have for the Corps evolving in the future? What would you like to see?
I like to see people becoming more culturally aware of, different people, backgrounds, and just in people in general. So another thing we're doing is we're having a cultural international night where all of our orgs are coming together to, share what we do, what we're about, our background, for other cadets as well to be more aware.
It's something that all of the freshmen are going to be allowed to have that option to attend, but it is going to be open to the whole Corps, but mostly the freshmen. It's mostly to get that freshman, that lower level, to kind of be exposed, kind of know who we are, kind of like get that experience, kind of hang out with your buds and really like share that camaraderie and like just kind of, just educate yourself and learn more about what we do.
Gotcha.
I know for the Black Cadet organization, we have an Instagram. I don't know if Phoenix has one, if Hero has one, but we constantly post like our events on our Instagram. So we'll probably have a flyer for the international night on our Instagram, which is VTCC _ BCO.
BCO.
Correct? Yeah. Shameless plug.
Now, how would you characterize your student experience as a member of the Corps? What has it been like for you?
It's been hard to branch out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little isolating
When you
at
go to
times.
class and you see all the students like look at you, they're like, "There's a cadet in this class." Look at her over there.
So you stand out everywhere you
Yes.
go. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yes, we do.
But how's your relationship with like your leadership, you call them DEPCOMs, deputy commanders, right? And then senior enlisted. How has that been?
I have a great relationship with Lieutenant Colonel Russell.
Yeah, he's nice.
And I think that like having that support from the deputy commandants is really important because they need to know what we're going through just as much as like our fellow cadets do, because in the end it's like, yes, this is a cadet-led program, and a lot of the kind of things that happen on a lower level that needs to be brought to their attention too. So just definitely having support from the regiment, from Reggie's staff, whoever it might be, and having Elsie there to kind of like share that experience with them is really important, because in the end they're the ones that have that like final say of like how to initiate this change. We're the ones that kind of bring it forward to them.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Honestly, for me, I would say like the DEPCOMs are like a true blessing, because if it wasn't for my DEPCOM, I would not be here right now.
Yeah.
Like I went through some things during the summer, and I like thought about dropping the Corps and just being a regular student here at Tech, but he told me that he would write me a letter of recommendation for like what I wanted to do after the Corps, and that really like drove me to stay. And now I'm like in a position of leadership, and I feel like just me continuing to have that drive and like him encouraging me like really helped. And he also sees like the goals that we have for all our organizations, and like all the DEPCOMs really believe in us, the commandant really believes in us, and they like just like really encourage us to keep pushing forward.
How have you navigated the challenging times that you've had, whether it's issues with classes or misunderstandings or encountering microaggressions? How do you handle those challenges in such a regimented institution like the Corps of Cadets?
I think that, I mean, a lot of the problems that I've faced, I had a lot of issues freshman year, and I wasn't really happy with the way that my leadership was handling that. So what I did is I kind of like took that as a motivation to really like move forward in leadership and to kind of like initiate that change. And just being able to kind of like talk to other people, and like I didn't know Hero was a thing until late spring of my freshman year, when I found another cadet who identified as LGBT, and I talked to them about it, and they were like, hey, we have this organization, it's not really like started up that much, is there any way you would want to be involved? And I took that as an opportunity. And just definitely like surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals and people who are like motivated to kind of like make change and kind of just literally like be kind to one another is really important, because there's a lot of people, you don't know what they're going through, and you want to like my initial instinct is like you want to help them out, but you got to be able to kind of talk to them on a level kind of face to face, even if it's like a freshman and you're a senior officer. And that's kind of the relationship we have the DEPCOMs, because they have so much experience with them, and you can kind of ask them for advice with whatever you're struggling with. So.
Wonderful. And I know that in the past there have been some issues in the Corps where where students, because in the Corps you have students that come from everywhere throughout the United States. So they come with different expectations, different upbringings and backgrounds, and of course there's conflict. So how do you get through that and help each other grow when you talk about issues that about difference of opinion or difference of lifestyle, difference of whatever it may be, how do you help your fellow cadets learn about how to communicate across difference?
I feel like that's something the Corps is still working on. That's why we're having the international night. It's something that they struggle with. So we're trying to make people more culturally aware. We have Core Lab where it teaches us about, we do that global leader assignment where you have to go talk to someone from a different race or country to help you be more exposed to like, different backgrounds that, tech has to offer, not just being surrounded with people who just looks like you. You have to be more socially and culturally aware.
I'm sorry, was there?
So they tell us all the time to be the change that we want to see. And like sitting here with them, you have 2 cadet captains and 2 cadet first sergeants, and that's like 2 of the highest ranks you can get in your respective class. And I believe that like we're all like showing that like we're changing the Corps, and like we want the Corps to move in a better way, in a better light. And I see like in this group of people that like we've like since our freshman year, so we came in after COVID, and they left their freshman year was COVID. Like that's when COVID started, and like you could see the difference between the old Corps before COVID and the Corps that came after COVID. And there's like we're still trying to get back into that groove, but it takes all of us, and it takes a whole like the whole community to help us grow, and just talking to people and just picking their brains and just like showing them that we all come from different backgrounds, and yes, COVID affected us differently, but we're all here for like a common goal.
Got you. Last question. How can we, those of us who are employed here at Virginia Tech, what can we do to make your experience better? What changes can we help to implement that will make a student experience in the Corps and at Virginia Tech better?
I'm blessed to have being in contact with the assistant director and director of the LGBTQ plus organization, Hokie Pride, and through that we've been able to kind of like reach out to them and talk to them about how they can help us as an organization at being in VTCC Hero, as well as like being able to plug in our cadets into the university. So you can do things through Hokie Pride, or you can do things through the BCM. It's like, as a cadet, you don't want to isolate yourself, and you want to be able to reach out to these resources that are on campus outside of the Corps. So I think definitely like communicating to the Corps and kind of working with them on the civilian side and being like, here are the opportunities we have for you on the university side that you can still get plugged into. So I think that definitely like reaching out to the DEPCOMs and like just sharing resources would be important.
I think just like I know we've all heard the stigma, like people don't like cadets or cadets are weird. And like, and another saying is like, they only like us when we go to football games and we march in. Like, just like dropping that stigma behind us. Like, we're normal people. We're also students. We just have a different goal in life. We want to maybe commission to the military, or like just this is the path that we chose, and we're still students here. Like, we still interact the same way. Now, there may be some of us that don't interact the same way, but like we're still human, and like we still also deserve respect, I feel like.
Definitely. I'll leave the last word to you two if you have anything that you would like to add.
Well, the better aspect to being like volunteered for stuff is, I mean, Caleb and I, we just went to a wrestling match for First Battalion, and seeing people outside of football games or seeing people outside of like other like events, it was just nice to like kind of feel like a normal student for once. Just watching the wrestling match, because that was my first wrestling match going to. I'm a senior, right?
Wow.
So I'm like last semester. That's graduate.
So you could have been going all those years.
Could have been going, having fun. But no, it was great to see everyone, see the match. It was a huge upset too.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Good. And
Another thing I would like BCO to get more involved is like the civilian side, reaching out to the Black alumni that go here, like you, Mr. Scott, for example, coming out to our meetings, telling the kids what resources is out there, because I don't want, everything to be just core focused. There's more stuff off campus as well. I know BCO, we've been trying to get the cadets involved with the other groups like
other Black organizations
You're
such
right.
as SOB and SAS
Bach.
and Bonk. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's more important, and that it's not good to like stick yourself in that one category to branch out. I feel
Gotcha.
like
We're going to make that happen.
yes, we
Sure.
do.
I want to thank you all again, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having
Thank
us,
you for
Mr. Starr.
yes, thank you.